Hello everyone, and I really hope you're having a good day. Today's video is going to be just a little bit different as I'm going to be talking over while I'm drawing, but mostly what we're doing is we're just going to be doing some expression practices on some characters of mine, and we're just going to be kind of playing around with some good emotions of different kinds. Like maybe we'll get in some super happy ones, some super mad ones. We'll try and get in a good amount, but not too much or that'd make the video be a bit too long. So right now I'm kind of just starting out with kind of this confused one. So this expression would be used a lot if your characters are like a chibi and like their face is turning super duper confused, has like a very blank expression on their face. And for that, instead of like the circles, I'm doing mostly like vertical lines for their eyes. But right now, I'm putting in the eyes right now, just like vertical bars. And it really does show that the character's just really, really confused. Like they have no clue, they're not really thinking about much right now. And I'm just doing one of my guy characters, and he's just super duper confused. It could be about anything, but right now we're just mostly worrying about just showing that expression and less of the why that expression's happening. But maybe he's just zoning out. You can just imagine he's just zoning out and he's not thinking about anything, and then that's just like the moment that he's in. So I'm trying to be really, really quick with it. I want it to be very sketchy, trying not to think about it too much. So I'm just going to try and quickly do the hair. I'm not trying to rush a bit too much, but I do want to just get some expressions out of the way, not think about putting in too much detail. Just basically getting the expression along the way and maybe just kind of keeping some of those guidelines there. And I even put him saying like, wow, but you can kind of tell he's like not paying attention, so maybe he's saying something to another character, but he's really not paying attention. I'm just going to be continuing to work on the hair a little bit. And for this one, I was really trying not to fully completely erase like the guidelines that are there, just to kind of make them less visible, but they're still visible to me. I don't know, I kind of just did that so I could just see where I put the guidelines there to make that expression, just in case I want to do it specifically that way again. So for this next one, I'm doing another one. And for this one, the expression's kind of not as happy, but it's not completely sad either. So I'm doing another one of my characters, but this one isn't exactly a human character. And I'm just quickly putting the guidelines, almost making them very, very chibi-ish. That's kind of what I'm focusing on for some of their expressions. Really trying not to put too much detail, but not too little either. Some of these characters have a lot of different parts to them, so some of them have like outfits or like accessories they wear, which makes them take a little bit longer to put in. So I guess you could count that as some detail, but I'm really trying not to worry about that too much. And what I find to be very important is characters' eyes. Characters' eyes can really say a lot, so they're really, really important in my opinion. So I'm just kind of curving them down to start, but then I'm going to be kind of putting down, you wouldn't call them eyebrows, but you kind of would. I'm going to be putting those down to kind of show that they're kind of not feeling 100% happy. But for this expression, I was kind of going maybe just like a little bit shy. Like not really sad, but more of a shy kind of expression. Sometimes I find that I have to kind of erase whole parts if I don't really get it right. I want to try and redraw it, make it just a little bit better. And so as you can see, I've kind of put in like some eyebrow like shapes, and I kind of do that. There are very like specific characters that I do this for. I don't do this for every character, but I put the eyebrows in second after I draw on like the eyes in just like a normalish shape. And then I go and erase it. So as you can see from the start, they kind of look sad. I'm not trying to make them look too sad though. But again, it's alright. Sometimes you're not going to get exactly with expressions, so you just got to try your best and hope you can come close to what you were envisioning in your mind. So I'm just drawing in the eyelashes here. Now this character's eyelashes aren't too long, so it's not too bad. Now I'm kind of putting in their eyes. Now their eyes are very interesting, so it might look a bit different, but they're not exactly human again, so their eyes are kind of very special in a way. And that's something I really do consider a lot when making characters. Each of their eyes kind of end up being very unique from each other. And that kind of shows a bit about their different personalities a bit. So for her character, like her design, her eyes are they're both different, but they both kind of hold something important. And now I'm just drawing like her mask. She wears a mask on, so that's why I'm just drawing that there. And after I draw the mask, I like to immediately get into like the hair. Now she actually isn't exactly like solid. She's kind of made out of like this jelly substance, so her hair is not exactly going to be drawn exactly. And I do apologize ahead of time because I do realize in the beginning while I was recording there were some parts where the camera wasn't exactly focusing correctly. I try to edit a lot of those parts out, but there still might be some, but that's alright if you're just listening in, or maybe if you're just watching from time to time but mostly listening. So it's not too bad, and it does get better. But anyways, right after I do her hair, I erase the guidelines. And again, I'm not really trying to go for too much detail, but I'm just kind of putting in these, she has like these headband kind of things, like not headbands, they're like hair clips almost. They kind of like go around her hair, and I'm just drawing that in. Hopefully I was describing that alright. So then I'm just quickly shading in her mask. I'm trying not to waste too much time worrying about the details again. And she has short hairs, but you can still see it's not completely short, so I just draw that in. And I kind of did put in some blush marks, but they're kind of hard to see. She's kind of like being just a little bit shy, which kind of shows her personality and character. I also made her look a bit more nervous. Now, because she's not exactly made out of like a solid substance, she kind of like almost melts when she's nervous. I kind of made her that way on purpose. Like, it's a way of her showing that she's kind of sweating as her like melting a bit. Now for this character, I was kind of going for like a very, very energetic, surprised expression. Like, this character is super surprised, they've seen something, or someone's coming after them in a hilarious anime, manga setting. Like, this is just hilarious. And I did make a bit of a mistake at this point. Now, this character kind of has like one eye closed, so you can't exactly have like both eyes open like that. So I do make sure to quickly change that and to quickly show the fact that one of her eyes are closed. I do find it's really important to keep that in mind, especially like if your character's eyes are closed, maybe they're wearing like some kind of eye mask, you wouldn't show both their eyes if they're surprised like this, and it wouldn't really make much sense too, so I made sure to do that. And I find it hilarious, mouths are really important as well. Mouths can be especially important, so really showing that their mouth is open and kind of going crazy and very exaggerated in a way really does show that they're surprised about something. And I also had even put some sweat there, and I made the ears raise up because I guess you could kind of argue they may be a bit animal-like, I suppose. So I'm kind of making their ears raise up because it's important, in my opinion, if you have a character that has non-human ears, or if they have a tail or wings, that you really make sure you include them and that they're involved in the scene. So if a character is super duper surprised and they have, let's say, cat ears, those cat ears should be reacting to the surprise as well, because they're also a part of the body as well. And if they're also surprised, maybe their tail's floofing up from surprise, or their tail's just kind of going up, you know, and kind of that way it makes you really understand that, okay, this tail is a part of their body, or okay, these wings are part of their body, you know, instead of just leaving them to the side and almost making them very costume-like. Unless that's exactly what the character's like wearing, like cat ears, or like a cat ear headband or something like that. So right now I'm just drawing in the hair, trying not to waste too much time. Now for this one, I don't really normally do this, but I kind of made her hair kind of jump up too, just to kind of go for that extra she's super surprised like expression. And I also kind of do that with the back of her hair as well. I try and kind of make it kind of stand up almost as though the hair is live itself. So it really kind of does scream like she's scared. But also, because I'm kind of going for a more chibi-ish expression, it looks like, hey, they're scared, but it's not anything to be concerned about. And I just kind of make sure to put her charms kind of reacting as well. I guess you could also call them earrings if you wanted to. So they're kind of flying up as well in reaction to her ears going up. So it's kind of showing just a bit of movement there, just to make it a bit more dynamic. And just to be a bit extra, and also it's hilarious, I put her like screaming, and it's hilarious. And just for the extra icing on the cake, I also put like action lines. They're not straight, but I'm really trying to just capture the expression. At the same time, I couldn't help it though. So far we've just got like 3 expressions that we've got down. They're each a bit different from each other, but they're all hilarious when you just look at them all together. I can almost imagine some kind of hilarious scene playing out. Okay, now for this expression, we're really going for a very explosive expression. We're really going, now this character, again, this is sort of like a chibi expression, but we're really kind of going for like explosive almost. Like the character's like super duper mad, but in a very comical way. Maybe someone really angered her, but she's kind of not really too angry. And again, this character, well, the rest of these characters aren't human, and it's all part of my manga. So they might have features that aren't exactly human-like. But still, I can use that to try my best to express how they're feeling in the moment. So for this one, I'm really going for those eyes, kind of doing a similar approach as the last one, but I'm prioritizing the ears, like making sure I show that the ears go there so I don't forget about them. And I'm really just kind of starting with the eyes right now. I'm making them big, wide, angry, glaring, really kind of show this character is not happy. Now I do kind of adjust the right eye just a bit. It seemed a bit too far away from me, but even when I adjusted it, it wasn't that bad. And as you can already see, I really kind of like asymmetrical, if that's the right word. Like, not making things look too symmetrical. When things look too symmetrical, it kind of looks a bit too perfect, like it wouldn't really fit within the scene. So by making it a bit asymmetrical, it looks a lot better in my opinion, and I just kind of do this naturally because I'm used to it. So even though they're glaring, like one eye is kind of like, they're going a bit crazy, like they've had enough. They've gone through like a lot, like someone's really bothering them, but it's still hilarious. Like, they still care about whoever's bothering them, so they're kind of just playfully getting angry. And for the mouth as well, some parts are lower than others, some parts higher, like really showing that their teeth and stuff. But actually, like I'm showing their teeth, but I'm also not showing their teeth at the same time, so it also does make it look a lot more playful. And as you can tell, this character is definitely explosive. Now this character's ears are already up, but I kind of did make him just go a little bit more up, not too much. And again, I know that there are features of these characters that aren't exactly human. They're like monster characters. I know that there are features that aren't exactly human, but I try my best so that even if they're not human, you can still kind of get what's going on with the facial expressions. And so I guess you could kind of describe them as a dragon character. I wouldn't be wanting to spoil anything, but if I just say that they're kind of like a dragon character, maybe that'll kind of make a bit more sense for why they look a certain way. So on the top, they have like one of their horns there. There's going to be a second one I draw, but also I wanted hair to really play a role. Now this character's hair is generally a bit more straighter than other characters, but in this one I really made their hair kind of sway in motion, so it's going backwards, kind of signifying that this character's kind of taking a step forward. They're super angry, maybe they're trying to chase it, maybe this is the before part, before this character decides to chase down whoever's making them angry. Kind of show a bit of motion there. And I even made, like, if you notice all the other characters so far, their shoulders are kind of downish, like they're not too worried, but for this character their shoulders are kind of more up. Their shoulders are showing that they're a bit more alert, they're on edge almost. And they have just so you guys know, this character has like almost like a collar. I don't want to call it like a collar exactly. It's not exactly like a choker either, but that's just what I'm drawing around them. And I'm really putting those, I forget what they're called. It's kind of like blood vessels like bursting. This is very, like, this is used a lot in manga and anime, and it really does show that they've had it. And I add a bit more, I believe. I'm just erasing those guidelines. As you can see, this character is starting to look angry, but we're going to make them angrier. Like, we're going to make them go from just kind of comedic angry to like really angry, but still have like a comedic approach to it. They're not like that angry. So what I like to do is I put these lines and it darkens their face, which makes them look really angry. And I definitely do think it works. Now all of a sudden this character looks super duper angry. And this character does get angry a lot, so that's especially why this expression fits them. So as you can see, they look super duper angry. They look like they're trying to hold it in, but they can't anymore. Like they're about to just go crazy. And honestly, whoever's angering them, I kind of feel a bit bad for. So again, this is going to be a bit more explosive, and I just forgotten to add in like their front like hair bangs that they have. Their bangs aren't as long as other characters, but they still kind of do have it right in the middle, so I just was quickly adding that in. a lot of times I pause what I'm doing and I just look at the characters, make sure I've got everything going correctly, just because that's how I prefer to do it. And sometimes I do forget details on characters that I do consider important. So I just like to go and check and make sure that I'm putting everything where it's supposed to go. And that's just sort of her design, her like scales design. I'm just kind of putting that there just for a little bit more extra detail. And the hairlines to kind of show it definitely is hair, even though it's kind of obvious before, but that's just something I prefer to do. And as you would probably be able to tell in like the future, as you are able to see this character more if you continue watching my videos, then her hair standing up is really going to show you that they're angry, because normally their hair is pretty straight. So this difference in their hair and how it's reacting is really going to also make her look really angry. And not just that, because they're kind of like a dragon, they're spewing fire as they're super duper angry. So so whoever's she's angry at, yeah, she's already kind of giving a warning, like you're about to be lit on fire. It's really funny. But and I'm just kind of adding a bit more detail there. And I kind of also added a bit more of like the blood vessels bursting as well. And right now she looks really angry. But not just that, we're not done. I think we're about done after this, but we're kind of making the background. If this were to be in a panel, then you'd be seeing this and it'd be dark outside of this like burst of energy. And it really is showing that they're really, really angry. And they're so explosive that you can see their energy outside them. And it really, really does honestly show, in my opinion, that she is about to burst. Like all that energy is just being pent up and it's about to be released on somebody. And whoever it is, they aren't going to like it at all. So that's pretty much the angry expression of that character. And we're just going on right to the next. Now this expression actually isn't as bursty. Well, not at all. It's really more of a neutral kind of look. So it really is this character being like sort of just neutral, honestly. It's almost like the first one, but they're not exactly happy or sad. They're not feeling any extreme expression. They're sort of just like, almost like being idle almost, but they're just kind of neutral about it, almost like they don't really care what's going on, but it's not like they're being rude while they don't care. They're just kind of almost being distracted by their own thoughts, as you might say. But they have a neutral expression that kind of shows that they don't really care too much about what's going on. And again, this isn't a human character. None of the rest of these are going to be human characters. Even though that I do have other human characters, but I might just do those in another expression video, because this actually was pretty fun. And just kind of practicing doing expressions can be very, very helpful for me, because knowing how to show an expression correctly is really, really important. I do really value expressions on characters. Expressions can mean the difference between a character just looking like they're scared and a character looking like they're scared and terrified and horrified and having dark memories, all from one panel that has no words in it. But of course, for this one, it's mostly just a neutral. And this character does appear, actually, this character kind of does appear a lot in my previous videos, I believe. I did do like a speed paint of her. Now, I will tell you her name. I can't exactly tell you the others' names. Like, some of them are in my manga, but I don't want to be spoiling anything. So, but I don't really think it'll be spoiling much to tell this character's name. So this character's name is Echo, and she's sort of a doll character, so her eyes are kind of going to be a bit different. She has pretty big eyes that they don't have much color, and she kind of, I don't want to spoil too much or anything, but you're going to see even as I'm shading in her eyes really do, in my opinion, kind of speak about her. They kind of give a summary as to what kind of character she is. But she is a doll character, or you could call her a plushie character. So I'm just shading her eyes because with this character, her eyes really are important in my opinion. Like, they're incredibly important. And she really has a neutral expression on her face. She doesn't really show much expression anyways, and a lot of these expressions kind of go with the character. I don't really do any expressions that a character wouldn't naturally do. Like, I wouldn't make the first character that I drew in this video super duper explosive. But maybe if I continue to do more of these, I'll do expressions that characters wouldn't normally do, that wouldn't be part of their character. But anyways, she's kind of saying like, what? Like, she doesn't really care. She was kind of distracted. Again, kind of a neutral, in my opinion. Nothing too heavy. Now for this one, we're kind of going for, I believe you kind of say, a bit more intimidating. These characters, because they're not human, they're kind of supposed to be a bit more intimidating, even if they don't end up being. It's just part of the story. And for this one, I'm kind of showing that, not too much. We're not doing a full body here, but if we were doing a full body, I'd probably show their bodies tensing up. And when you really do see more of these characters, you kind of also get more of a sense of just how not human they are in a way. Like how different they are. Like especially for this one. But for this one, actually, in one of my previous videos, one of my more recent ones, I believe, this character did show up. So, and they do show up quite a bit, so if you ever get to see that or ever choose to, then you'll definitely see that this character is kind of more of a threatening one. Now, as you can notice, their left eye is open wide. They don't have another eye, so I'm not going to draw another one, and you'll see in just a moment why, but you'll see that this character's eyes are open wide. Now, you might think to yourself, oh, well, they're an intimidating character, shouldn't they be glaring or narrowing their eyes? Well, actually, we're kind of going to go a bit different here. We're going to take a different approach that's going to kind of get us almost a better result. Now, even though this character's eyes are open wide, if you actually look at their pupils, the fact that they're kind of more thinner, and I even put lines, shows that they're kind of almost losing it. Well, not exactly, but like kind of showing that's gonna get an intimidating look in my opinion. You could go narrow eyes, but it really all depends on the character. This character wouldn't narrow their eyes unless there was a reason to. So for like in this scenario, I would say this is kind of them being intimidating, but not too intimidating for them. This is kind of just them kind of giving a warning. And I really did focus on the eyes and less on the mouth. I could have chosen the mouth as a priority and showed their mouth, which definitely would have gotten a clear message across, but for this one I kind of chose for them to kind of be lowering their head a bit. And if you kind of notice, I didn't make it too clear, but their arms are kind of in front of like their chest. So they're kind of like, this character kind of, just imagine they kind of go on all fours. So they're kind of bent down in almost a defensive position, and they really do not want to be bothered. And just the fact that their eyes are kind of opening wide and their pupils are so thin definitely tells you that they're kind of more on the, I guess you could say, wild side, but not exactly. This character's also a bit more torn up as well, if you kind of get what I'm going for. Maybe as you see a bit more, it'll be a bit more clear, but I'll just say that you could take it directly or indirectly, both work, but if you ever continue watching my videos, you'll definitely see what I mean. Now, this character is also kind of like one of the other characters I said, that where they're not solid, they're made out of a sort of liquid substance that's more like a gel kind of substance, or like a jelly kind of substance. But this one kind of has a very different consistency of liquid. Like, they're not really that thick of a liquid substance that they're made out of, but definitely not a runny. And I do consider that very important when having, I'll just use the generic title or the very vague kind of title, like slime monster almost. Like, when thinking about the consistency, that's very, very important to me. The consistency of the liquid that the slime character is made out of. And actually, let me just go on and just say, for this one, I kind of showed a bit of teeth, almost like they're kind of prepared to attack. And that sign that's above their head is kind of like a sign that shows, they're starting to notice something, you know? So some character might have just started talking to them, and they're noticing it, or maybe the character saying something that piques their interest. But now we're just going off that character, but I guess I could just say a bit more about consistency. The consistency of liquid that your slime monster may be made out of, if you ever choose to make one, is very important, because each consistency is different, and depending on how it is, could mean that maybe they're able to get underneath stuff, under thin, like almost like the passageway under your door, or like how there's sort of an opening under a door. Like, if they're made out of a very runny liquid, then they're able to more easily go under there. But if they're made of a much more thick one, they're gonna have to like really squeeze to get underneath there, in order to get into whatever room they're getting in, for whatever purposes, most likely not good ones. But like, I could go on all day about that, but I'll just stop with that. Now, this character, I was kind of rushing a bit with this one. I didn't want to take too much time. I kind of did mess him up a little bit. I would definitely redo it. But anyways, I'm just putting in the ears. Now, this character's ears, again, something that's very important. Each character kind of looks different from each other. Now, this character's ears are definitely different from all the others. And I deem them to be very important for this character because they definitely play a role, I'll say. I immediately shade them in. I don't really want to be talking too much about these characters. Anyways, where was I? So, I drew their eyes. So they do have two eyes, but well, let me just go ahead and say I'm just working on their kind of like their fur. It is their hair, but it's also their fur at the same time. So one of their eyes, I guess I could tell you, one of their eyes, let's just say it had an accident. So, well, they do still have their eye, it's just an eye socket. But their right eye is fine though. But I do prioritize the left eye because of that very kind of big difference in my opinion. And this character is kind of more of a furry character. Now, one of the mistakes I honestly feel I made while doing this one, which makes sense because I was rushing, was I stuck too close to making it too circular with that circle guideline that I had did. For the other characters, I do a circle, and then I do like the lines, and then I kind of make the chin, and so I go down from that circle and curve it. This one I stuck too much to the circle, and so that's why it looks a bit more circular, a lot more circular. So next time I'm just gonna remember not to do that. But it didn't look too bad. So I'm just adding in like this character's details, like with the fur and everything. I'm just erasing guidelines as I go. for this expression, actually, I don't really think I was going for an expression here, really. Like, when drawing this character, I'm not sure if I was really thinking about an expression of what I would do exactly. I kind of just made them kind of just standing, like, just watching almost. And I'm kind of just shading in their face. You could see this character. I have videos of this character, not explaining them or anything, but I've done pictures and drawings of this character, so you could definitely go and see how they're supposed to look. And me noticing my mistake, I try to correct it by making it a bit better, which does actually help a little bit. So I'm just continuing from there. I'm not too worried about making mistakes though, because when making mistakes, it's often better, in my opinion, to just keep going for it and try not to strive for perfection. Now, for me, I enjoy putting details on my characters because it satisfies me a lot when I see one of my characters are drawn correctly. So I don't mind doing that. But when there are moments, and again, I'm just kind of fixing my mistakes or trying to just a little bit, but not too much, not worrying about it too much. But when I'm kind of not able to do something and I try and it doesn't work out, I just stop doing it, don't worry about it, and continue on from there. I actually kind of did make this character kind of just staring blankly, maybe just a bit confused, but for this last one, I wasn't really focusing too much on expressions or anything. So yeah, this is pretty much all of it, but I do have a quick version that I always like to play, and in these quick versions, or at least in this one, I would kind of just like to talk more about expressions, just go over what I consider when I do them, what I deem to be a lot more important when doing them, especially. So in just a moment, I'm just going to start talking about that, and you can listen in, and I'm just going to be going over some important details that I always keep in mind when doing expressions. Okay, so expressions. There's honestly so much that I could honestly say when talking about them. In my opinion, expressions are incredibly important, and that might just sound obvious, but I really do take it very seriously when I'm trying to do them, because there's so much you can capture with an expression, in my opinion. You could capture, for example, all of a character's life story, what they've gone through, just simply through expression. You could capture all of their sadness that they've experienced throughout their whole childhood. You can capture all of their joy that they've been experiencing throughout their whole life. You could capture that maybe there's something, they're happy, but deep down there's something wrong, and you can tell. Maybe a smile will look a lot more fake than it should, and so that'll kind of give you a warning that something's not right. So expressions really, they give you that knowledge without having a character say anything at all. They really show you so much, and so I always prioritize them, or at least I always try to, because it's just so important. There's something so special about them, and it really doesn't seem like it's considered a lot. It's like, it feels like, okay, making a happy expression, very simple, just kind of curve the mouth, maybe make them close their eyes, but it's really not just that. The angle the eyes at, the angle, like the mouth, how curvy is the mouth? Like, how happy do you make them? How happy do you just choose to normally make them? An artist might make them super elated almost, just normally. That's just a normal smile. That's not even when they're super duper happy. Or some artists may just choose to just put maybe a line. maybe just a line there. And you know, to show a character's happy as well, it really honestly just depends on the character. You could have a very serious character and they don't smile much, so maybe their version of a smile is just them kind of slightly lifting, just ever so slightly lifting the corners of their mouth. And that can really just make the difference. You can tell the character's actually happy even if they normally don't often show it. Like, it's amazing how you can show a character's happy in so many different ways. So expressions really do kind of show a lot more about a character. They allow you to get even closer to them, because as you're reading a manga or watching an anime or even a cartoon or any TV show in general, even maybe a live action show, as you're watching these characters' mouths moving, as they're expressing themselves, you really do start to understand them and the way they work a lot more simply through expressions alone. They don't even have to say anything. They could just be completely muted the whole time, and if you just don't listen to any audio and watch their expression, you'll mostly, for the most part, or for some part, be able to follow along with how they're feeling or maybe what they're doing. Like if they look more serious, they're in a much more serious environment or moment, or if they're looking a lot more happy, they're just relaxing, they look relaxed, they don't look tense, then you can kind of tell that they're just kind of enjoying themselves for a bit. So expressions really are important, in my opinion. So I do definitely want to study a lot more, and through that I get to see more personalities of different kind of characters, and I get to sort of apply that in various ways by taking whatever information I've learned from these characters and sort of applying it to whatever characters I might have in the future. So like, if there's a super duper serious character who's kind of, maybe they're hurting inside and they've gone through a lot of sacrifice and struggle, through seeing their emotions, I can sort of keep that in mind. And if I have any super serious characters of my own, I can sort of apply that knowledge and kind of understand a bit more how serious characters work. And through their expressions, I can, based on the ones I've seen before, I can really show just how serious or how tense they are in certain moments. But also, not just that, there's regular expressions, and then there's also chibi expressions. I consider those to kind of be two different things, because there's, in my opinion again, a big difference between a character looking really, really serious and they're furious and outraged, and then turning them into a chibi and making them look angry, but you can tell it's not a serious situation. When artists use chibis, it's often, in my opinion, again, based on what I've seen from other artists who may be like drawing pieces of artwork that are supposed to express a given idea or like expressions. From what I've seen, chibi expressions are a lot more lighthearted. They make the mood a lot lighter, more funny. It could be a whole serious moment in anime or manga, and as soon as you add that chibi expression on there, all of a sudden the mood just feels so much lighter, and chibis can almost be comedic. However, that's not always the case in some stories. A chibi style might look cute, or like a style might look like chibi, which is cute and adorable, but the story might be darker, and that's what's so good about manga and anime, and really any style in general. It's your own, so you can make it whatever you want. I often find that sometimes I make my characters look more chibi just on the regular, just because I prefer the look of chibis. They're simplified, but they hold so many key expressions that are so important. It's like, for example, kind of the one I'm doing right now in this quick version, like their eyes are just white, which isn't normal. You don't see that every single day. You don't see a person's eyes just looking white like that. But that expression just somehow, it just shows so much more, and it means a lot more as well. And so I really do consider it amazing and super duper important to use. So, trying to think of anything else I want to kind of talk about when it comes to expressions. And really, there's honestly so much more I could say, but I'm kind of trying to think of the more important details that I've been noticing as I've been kind of trying to teach myself how to draw more and more through like books and whatnot. So with expressions, again, I'm kind of repeating myself. I'm just trying to kind of think through anything. Okay, we can talk about specific parts of the face when it comes to expressions. Let's start with, you know what? Let's start with, okay, so let's start with hair. Now, one might think, well, it's hair. What does it have to do with any expressions? Well, hair can play a pretty big role with expressions. Hair has its own way of reacting. It winds, it kind of blows, and has this flow to it, you know, whenever it's falling, like when characters are falling, how the hair reacts then. Underwater, hair plays a massively important part. But when it comes to expressions, hair can be ever so important. If a character is super mad, like what I'm doing right now, with the hair can kind of almost be reacting almost as though it's moving along with the character. And it's kind of like, for this one, the hair is up, it's sort of reacting, it's sort of almost exploding as well, like it's agreeing with the character, with how the character's feeling. And that really does show a lot more and make you understand how angry this character is. If the character's hair is just straight, you know, not much is going on, that can also give details about a character as well. If their hair is messy, and the character has a messy hair on a daily basis, we can just assume this character doesn't really care much about their hair. If the character's hair is more tidy, well kept, you can definitely tell the character cares about their hair, so they might be somebody who really does make sure that they're kind of always clean and not dirty. So what does this have to do with expressions? Well, their hair is going to sort of give you that extra information and sort of agree with the expression. So if a character has dirty hair, look at their expression as well, and you might notice maybe they're unhappy. Maybe they have this sad look in their eyes, and their hair's unkept. And that shows that the character's not exactly feeling so well, because if they were, then maybe their hair would be more kept and they'd be taking care of themselves. So as you can see from that, the hair definitely does play its part. It definitely does show more about the character's personality. Now, I'm just gonna quickly just go off from the hair, just because we don't have too much time left. I'm gonna go from the hair, talk about the eyebrows. The eyebrows, definitely important. Without the eyebrows, you wouldn't really get that super duper mad feeling, or maybe sad feeling. When a character's super mad, their eyebrows are really low, or when they're trying to look intimidating as well. But when they're surprised, those eyebrows go right up, and it shows that a lot. Without the eyebrows, I feel almost as though characters might look just a little bit awkward, not too awkward, but even some of my characters that aren't human don't exactly have eyebrows, but they still kind of do have them as well, and using those really does help, but not all of them have that. But having eyebrows definitely communicates a lot more, and it really does emphasize whatever feeling they're feeling. And I'm just gonna quickly go on to eyes. I mean, there's a lot with the eyes as well. The eyes are narrowed, annoyed, eyes are open wide, scared possibly, or maybe they're crazy, or maybe they're super mad, but the eyes are still open. So there's different ways you can show a character's angry, like with one of the drawings that I did in this video, where their eyes are more open even though they look like they're angry. So with eyes, the communication there, eyes are one of the first things that you might look at when you're looking at a character, and the eyes just, they really do show everything about the character, honestly. Even if a character has two different eyes, it still tells you sort of this character's story without really telling the character's story, if that makes sense. Eyes can hold sadness in them. They can hold happiness in them. They can hold fear and worry, frustration. They can hold all these emotions. And one of my characters that's kind of wearing a mask, which I'm trying not to spoil too much about anything, but they wear a mask. So you can't exactly see their mouth, so their eyes are really telling a lot of how they're feeling. Doesn't mean you won't ever see their mouth, because there are moments you definitely do, and I'm not spoiling any of that, but those moments where they have their mask on and they don't have their mouth showing, the eyes play a very important part to kind of show how the character's feeling, because you can't see their mouth there. So you're going to need the eyes to show how the character's feeling. And I definitely do try my best when showing that, especially when it comes to that character specifically. So yeah, the eyes, and even as I do more of these kind of behind the scenes, and as I'm able to talk more about this and go over more of this, we could potentially do some just specifically eye practices. Even the color of the eyes shows the character. If their eyes are more darker, then they might look like they're more kind of serious or hurt. But if their eyes are a lot more brighter, then they look really cheerful and happy. So yeah, that's definitely important. Okay, so right after the eyes comes the mouth. And the mouth is something that I definitely want to try and master. Because the mouth, there's so many different ways that it can kind of open, it's kind of hard for me to describe right now, but the different ways that it opens in different situations, or even situations where it doesn't open at all, also expresses how the character's feeling. So if their mouth barely ever smiles, we'll just use that example, because I believe we used that before. If their mouth barely ever opens, then and they barely ever smile, you can kind of get the sense that this character is more serious, and doesn't really show happiness much, even if they might feel it. If the mouth is kind of turned more in a frown, you also kind of get that feeling. If the eye, the mouth is always, the character's always gritting their teeth, you also get the sense that they're a bit of a more intense character. So the mouth really does play its important, and especially since there are characters of mine that obviously, like I've been saying, are not human, or are they? Anyways, they're not human, so their mouths aren't gonna look normal. Some are gonna be sharper, curvier, some might not have mouths. So kind of just being able to show normal emotions using those different mouths, if it can be used effectively, it really will say a lot about the character. At this point, I'm kind of just rambling, trying to kind of take up a little bit more time. I'm trying to go through all my thoughts right now, but on another day, when I have a clear mind, I probably would be able to say even more things about it. So yeah. And this kind of is a bit of a different kind of video for me. So it's going to be, I'm not going to be as confident right now, but hopefully throughout time then I will be. So hopefully you stuck through with me through this far, and I definitely do appreciate it if you have. Hopefully you kind of stick around because there's more behind the scenes like this that are coming. I do ones where I work on my manga, some manga panels, which is kind of spoiled, so if you don't like that, you don't have to watch it. But I do make sure each panel I do is very different from the last ones, so that you kind of don't understand too much of what's going on, hopefully. But not just that, I do ones where I just draw my characters. I try to do the ones that you guys have already seen or are already on my channel, so that I'm not spoiling too much by continuously like showing more and more characters, because I've got a ton and it doesn't seem like it'll ever end. So I try to not show every single character in every single video, although I could, and I could probably go on for months and it still wouldn't end. But yeah, so there's gonna be more behind the scenes where I just possibly practice with poses. I try not to make it too long, although I do prefer longer videos a bit more. But like for this one, I'm trying not to make it too long. But anyways, it seems we're kind of approaching the end of this, and I really do appreciate anyone who stuck through this. If you do appreciate these analyses of mine, if that's even a word, you can continue watching more of my behind the scenes, and I can give more information. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and hope you really did enjoy everything I had to say. So thank you.